He has impacted so many different areas of the marketing field and the business field. Any criteria in terms of research output, recognition, citations, influence, the amount of books and our journal articles, he's up there.
In the field of marketing, I put him at number one because I think Dad has touched so many different aspects of not just the field of marketing, but the field of management, the field of international business, global development and global economics.
If all he ever did was academics, he'd be one of the great leaders of the last 60 years. If all he did was help create future business leaders and help the governance and the strategy of corporations, he'd be one of the great corporate thinkers and leaders of the last 50 years. But also he's had this profound impact on public policy and government.
One of the things that really separates Jag Sheth, I think, from every other scholar that I've ever come across is he's really a year or two in front of the field in terms of his innovative ideas, and that's been throughout his entire career.
I don't think there's probably any field that I engage in that he wouldn't have thoughts about because he's probably done some research related to it.
In this latest episode of The American Journey, we share the extraordinary story of Indian-American scholar, educator, and marketing guru Jagdish Sheth. A towering figure in the academic discipline of marketing, Sheth has a body of work that spans 6 decades and cuts across several fields, ranging from consumer psychology and relationship marketing to global competitive strategy and geopolitics. Sheth, the Charles H. Kellstadt Professor of Business at Emory University's Goizueta Business School, has been equally successful in the corporate world. Over the years, he has served on the boards of more than half a dozen companies and consulted for some of the largest American companies. Jagdish Jag Sheth was born in 1938 in Burma, then a British colony. He was the youngest of 6 children of Nanchant Jiraj Sheth and Diwali Nanchant Sheth. The Sheths were rice traders who moved to Burma a few years earlier, seeking better business opportunities. However, the outbreak of the Second World War had a cataclysmic effect on the family.
In 1940, Japan rolled over Burma, and all minorities had to get out. And we come from a small village in Kutch, Gujarat. So we went back to Kutch in Mundra. Last boat we caught, left everything behind. My father had a clinical depression. For 4 years he sat in a corner and did not want to talk to anybody.
The family struggled mightily for the next 8 years.
The school I went was a one-room school in the old days. My sisters nurtured me quite a lot. They all worked making pickles or embroidery to get something. And some of the jewelry that my mother had got with her, she began to pawn and get some cash.
Since economic opportunities were scarce in the Kutch region, the family of 8 moved to multiple cities across India.
We left Kutch in 1947 to go to Chennai. So we were in Chennai for a while. We were trying to settle, and we went to different places, and then ultimately back to Chennai in 1952.
In Chennai, a southeastern port city, then known as Madras, the family started a small manufacturing business producing jewelry boxes. Sheth spent his formative years in Madras, a city known for education, culture, and progressive politics. After graduating from high school in 1955, he enrolled for a 2-year intermediate program.
I really enjoyed accounting, but my love and my passion is for history. I studied history, accounting, and statistics.
He passed the intermediate program with the highest marks in the entire state.
His eldest brother wanted him to come and work in the jewelry making business with him, and only relented to allow him to go to college because he was such a good student, and because his second brother said, "He's a good student, you should allow him to go on to school."
Since he was very good at accounting, a career option Sheth considered was chartered accountant, equivalent to CPA in the United States.
And then I went to Loyola College in a special program. My major was income tax, BCom honors, 3-year program.
After completing the bachelor's degree program in 1960, Sheth decided to apply for an MBA program in the United States. Even though he was accepted by multiple schools, Sheth chose to attend the University of Pittsburgh. At the University of Pittsburgh, Sheth was the only foreign student in his MBA class. Nonetheless, he thoroughly enjoyed the classes and the academic atmosphere. The MBA program opened a new frontier for Sheth. Working with professors like John Howard, who would later become his mentor and co-author, the young Indian scholar began reading the books of Sigmund Freud and Abraham Maslow and taking an interest in behavioral sciences. 2 papers on behavioral sciences that Sheth wrote for his class garnered attention within the academic circles and showed early signs of his huge potential. In a way, some of the fundamental works, which were instrumental in launching his academic career, were done during this period. Among them was honing his theorizing capability, a prerequisite for an academic. Around the same time, he started examining institutions such as government and religion, and also began working on a seminal book with his mentor John Howard, a Harvard-trained economist.
And we began to write this theory of buyer behavior. Contrary to economic expectations, we found that the consumers get habituated. They buy out of habit, not based upon calculations, pros and cons, plus and minus, trade-offs, which is the typical economic theory.
Sheth registered for PhD at the University of Pittsburgh, but he also had a small personal matter to take care of. Prior to coming to Pittsburgh, he had fallen in love with a beautiful Gujarati girl at a literary organization he had co-founded in Madras. He wanted to bring Madhuri Shah to the U.S. and marry her. Madhu flew to the United States after a modest engagement ceremony. The couple was married at the landmark Heinz Chapel in Pittsburgh on December 22, 1962. In the spring of 1963, the University of Pittsburgh, which was a private university, faced a financial collapse, forcing many high-profile professors to leave the school. John Howard moved to Columbia University in New York. In October 1963, Sheth joined Howard at Columbia as a research associate at an annual salary of $9,000. His main job was to develop the theory of buyer behavior, completing chapters and reviewing with doctoral students. In the meantime, the Sheths welcomed their first child, daughter Reshma. In the fall of 1965, Sheth joined the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston as an assistant professor. Even though he had not completed his PhD yet, MIT had been helping the government of India to set up a world-class management school in the eastern city of Calcutta. Sheth joined MIT in a tenured track position. The arrangement was that he would be available to teach at the new Indian Institute of Management during certain semesters. Sheth submitted his doctoral thesis in late 1965 and received his PhD the next year. In 1967, he published his first major paper, a review of buyer behavior, in the journal Management Science, which was very well received.
Then we got a major grant on our theory at Columbia University. So Columbia University said, come back.
Even though his time at MIT was very productive, Sheth could not resist an offer from Columbia to return as an assistant professor. In addition to teaching classes, he also wanted to work with Howard to complete the book. Now back in the New York area, the Sheths had their second child, son Rajan, who was born in February 1967. By the end of the year, Sheth finally had the opportunity to go to India and teach at IMM Calcutta. It was an experience he relished. In 1969, shortly before returning to the United States, he left Columbia for the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, one of the largest public universities in the country. He joined the university as an associate professor of business, a tenured position.
I went to Illinois, mostly for psychology department. They're brilliant psychologists, and I liked their work. And I said I would like to come there.
Once we moved to Illinois, that's really where Dad's star power started. He started teaching multivariate statistics, of all things, to corporations. He started teaching to AT&T. And from AT&T, he started teaching other companies as well. And then he really became recognized not just for consumer behavior, but also for his ability to present across multiple business concepts and platforms.
The Theory of Buyer Behavior, the book Sheth had been collaborating with John Howard for 7 years, was finally published in 1969. It instantly became a classic, transforming the discipline of marketing from a product-driven field to a consumer-driven one.
Or if I'm a consumer behavior researcher and I'm thinking of what's the foundations of consumer behavior research, Howard Sheth theory is in that mix of sort of the fundamental, theoretical contributions to how consumers make decisions.
Definitely the theory of buyer behavior is what catapulted him to the next level. Even 30 years later, when I went to do my doctorate, it was a book that everyone who teaches consumer behavior says all the students have to read.
Sheth had been teaching executive classes to earn some extra money almost since the beginning of his academic career. Now with the publication of The Buyer Behavior, Sheth's brand began to take off. The newfound popularity enabled him to land consulting jobs with some of the largest companies in the world. Over the decades, he has worked for roughly 60 major corporations across several industries. His clients range from packaged goods companies such as General Foods, Procter & Gamble, and Unilever to electronics manufacturers like Philips.
And I evolved from teaching technical courses to more strategy, ultimately eventually getting into true advising about the future of the company itself. So I've been involved heavily in when do you exit the whole corporation? Very confidential. It's just one-on-one conversation with the chairman, and you learn quite a lot. How do you become a trusted advisor?
In the early 1980s, Sheth began studying one particular sector of the economy very closely, the telecom industry, which was then undergoing massive structural changes. In 1984, the century-old behemoth Bell system was broken up into 7 small companies known as Baby Bells, and AT&T, the parent company, relinquished the control of the Bell operating companies. The same year, Sheth left the University of Illinois reluctantly to accept a position at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. At USC, he created a Center for Telecommunication Management to foster a clear understanding of the evolving industry. The center served as a perch that would allow Sheth to interact with top executives of an industry that became part of America's critical infrastructure. Among companies he worked closely with was AT&T.
He had an extraordinary impact on shifting a technology company to be more sensitive and sensitive in a different way to the consumer marketplace.
In 1991, Sheth decided to leave USC and join Emory University. Founded more than 150 years ago, the Atlanta-based private university was in the middle of rebranding itself as a top-notch university, a sort of Harvard of the South. One of the primary reasons Sheth moved to Atlanta was because it was where his client Bell South was headquartered.
Bell South was very nurturing, and they said, Los Angeles is too far, can you come here?
At Emory, the impact of Sheth's hiring was felt almost immediately.
When he came, we were able, with his eminence and his magnetic personality and his reputation for being a caring mentor, to attract some of the best young marketing professionals in the world, marketing professors, to such an extent that we have built up what remains one of the best marketing academic departments in the world. But he is the father of that.
Outside of academics, Sheth's success in the field of executive education made him an enormously sought-after consultant to many U.S. and global companies. Besides major telecom players such as AT&T, Bell South, and Lucent, the list of corporate giants he worked with as a consultant since the 1980s include General Motors, Whirlpool, Home Depot, Delta, and UPS. By the 1990s, with his reputation as a consultant growing and stardom in the academic field rising, Sheth began receiving invitations to join corporate boards. In 1994, he joined the board of Norstan, then one of the largest independent systems integration companies. Over the next 2.5 decades, he would serve on the boards of more than half a dozen diverse range of corporations. Among them was Wipro, one of India's most valuable companies, which has a market cap of more than $52 billion and global workforce of 220,000 people. Sheth served on the Indian conglomerate's board for 19 years. His association with Wipro's billionaire founder, Azim Premji, had begun in the mid-1980s when the company was predominantly a consumer products manufacturer. In recent years, Sheth has left boards and cut down on most of the corporate engagements to spend more time on philanthropy. But he continues to wield an outsized influence on the discipline of marketing. Besides the theory of buyer behavior, Sheth has authored or co-authored nearly 30 books and over 200 papers. Because of their applicability in the real world, many of his books have become popular, used not just by the academic community, but also by businesses and even governments. The hallmarks of Sheth's scholarship are his extraordinary ability to analyze issues from up close as well as from a distance, his capacity to cut through the present and see the future, and his ability to communicate across disciplines. It is these qualities that have made him such an influential figure, both in the academic and business worlds.
Jag is one of those people that can see the small picture and the big picture in one conversation. He flies at 50,000 feet and then at 50 feet in a second. Meaning he can give you that context and the historical context, and then he could bring it down with an example that's very tangible about a decision you made yesterday. And I think that's what makes him also very, very unique.
One of the things that really separates Jag Sheth, I think, from every other scholar that I've ever come across is he's really a year or two in front of the field in terms of his innovative ideas, and that's been throughout his entire career.
Sometimes I call myself a futurist because I really imagine the future based upon trends or insights.
Sheth also has a remarkable intellectual range.
I don't think there's probably any field that I engage in that he wouldn't have thoughts about because he's probably done some research related to it.
And the range of his work, I think, is second to none, honestly. If he talks about across any industry, he has deep knowledge, deep understanding of industry dynamics. He can speak longitudinal, like where things came from and how they evolved. He can talk about the customer side and the production side, right? The supply side and the demand side.
Sheth says he would not have achieved the kind of success he has had in his career without the help he received from a number of individuals throughout his life. And those who nurtured him include his 5 older siblings who provided him with a support system early in his life, and his professor, mentor, and co-author John Howard, who was instrumental in launching his academic career. However, the one central figure who has been anchoring Sheth's life in the past 60 years has been his wife, Madhu. In his autobiography, The Accidental Scholar, Sheth attributed his success to the unconditional support, love, and partnership of Madhu, calling her his backbone. While Madhu and Jag have divergent interests, one common passion the couple shares is philanthropy.
At least 50% of their wealth they have given away. And I think that their plan is to give away probably 90+% of their wealth. And as my dad likes to say, it's a lot more fun to do while you're alive than after you're dead. So they've been very active in doing that over the last probably couple of decades.
Giving back is always a natural tendency. In my view, I think it is as innate as anything, like hunger, thirst. Now I started thinking about that being an immigrant too. What can I do to America because it has done so well for me? India the same way, of course. I mean, I can't get world-class free education like what you got. People like us should contribute back to the society. Paying forward in many ways is an obligation you inherit.
In the past 2 decades, the Sheths have supported dozens of local, national, and international causes through 2 foundations. One of them, the Emory and Jagdish Sheth Foundation, is primarily focused on generating scholars and leaders in its discipline, marketing. In India, the foundation supports the Academy of Indian Marketing, which was launched by Sheth in collaboration with a prominent Indian marketing scholar.
I had no opportunities to do research, so I had to come out. Or when I came out, my potential was realized.
The couple launched another foundation, the Sheth Family Foundation, to support causes outside of marketing and academic fields.
Its mission is to contribute to Indian cultural activities anything to do India and to local community like Atlanta. About 100 different charities we contribute.
One of the signature programs of the foundation is a lecture series on India studies at Emory University.
When they do special lecture series, sometimes it's dance, sometimes it's medicine, Destination India. We've learned a great deal. We've seen dancers that I have never seen before and that I don't think anybody else has. And they bring the culture and they bring it that it's inspirational that you want to go to India to see it.
Another cause the Sheths are promoting through their foundation is Jainism.
It really is a religion of self-discovery, self-improvement. It says that that's really more important than anything else. And learning, which is the passion I have.
During his 6 decades of professional and academic life, Sheth has received several accolades from dozens of prominent trade groups, institutions, and nations. In 2020, India, the country of his birth, honored Sheth with the Padma Bhushan Award, the third highest civilian award in the nation.
Padma Bhushan Award has been a significant recognition in my life. It's more than most other awards I have won. Every community thought it was their award. My academic colleagues, the Jain community, Atlanta community, and any community.
Over nearly 6 decades, Jagdish Sheth has built a remarkable legacy in multiple spheres.
If you get in one room, all the people that he mentored when they were PhD students, and you see the careers they've had as professors, and then you see their students, there's kind of the Jag Sheth pyramid, and as a teacher and as a mentor and as an advisor, you could gather probably 1/3 of the world's great marketing professors, and they have a tie to Jag Sheth.
In the field of marketing, I put him at number 1 because I think Dad has touched so many different aspects of not just the field of marketing, but the field of management, the field of international business, the global development and global economics.
Jag Sheth, if anything, is someone who straddled 3 worlds. If all he ever did was academics, he'd be one of the great leaders of the last 60 years. If all he did was help create future business leaders and help the governance and the strategy of corporations, he'd be one of the great corporate thinkers and leaders of the last 50 years. But also he's had this profound impact on public policy and government.
Sheth himself considers the students, academics, and corporate leaders that he mentored and helped develop over the decades to be his greatest legacy.
I think my legacy would be more about someone who unlocked the potential of so many, either on a one-on-one mentoring or influencing in the class and inspiring them to do something. I think it's the ultimate purpose of human being. How do you make ordinary people extraordinary? And how do you unlock their potential? I myself have got the same way. My potential was realized by my family, my sister surprisingly, and then eventually my brothers. In this country, my mentor, professor, enormous, and my potential was unlocked the same way. The only expression I can make about my journey is how blessed I am. Somebody who came from a merchant community, becoming a refugee in Burma. Probably I would not have studied beyond grade school, manage a little panwala shop, and becoming a professor. So from panwala to professor journey is just incredible, which means that my own potential I did not realize, but somebody out there realized and gave me the opportunities. So I feel blessed.